Whether attending a networking event or giving a presentation or even speaking in front of a crowd, there are times when we must find confidence in character to connect and captivate for effective communications. Today's guest is Pamela Deritis, who helps us transform executives and employees into dynamic communicators and storytellers. She uses a unique approach rooted in the blend of acting and improv to help us create the influence we want. So Pamela, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Lisa. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, we're going to chat about a lot of things that, when people, whether they're already out there or they're looking to maybe pivot or reinvent their lives, they need that confidence to show up, to be able to connect and captivate. So I've got a number of questions for our audience, and also to be a little self-serving here, I've got some questions for myself too, because I've got some presentations coming up. So I know we're going to learn from you today. All right.
Very good.
Yeah. So there are thousands of people who find satisfaction in acting or improv. We're here in Atlanta. It's kind of called the Hollywood of the South. We've got a lot of studios here. So I know there's a lot of actors that are local. But my question for you is, what inspired you to bring these talents of acting and improv into corporate communications and training?
Great question. That requires a little bit of history. I'll try and keep it brief. I came to Atlanta at a time when a lot of movies were being shot here. There still are. Since COVID, it's been a little spotty, but back then it was 2008, 2009 timeframe, and I was enthralled with the movie industry. And I decided to be an extra in several big name movies that you would recognize. I'm in the background. You probably would never see me because it's like way in the background, but that gave me the acting bug. And I started auditioning. And one thing led to another, and I was actually getting cast in things. So I thought, let me just take acting lessons, because if I'm going to do this, I need to know how to be an actor. And I got into a class that was taught by is still taught actually today by a man who came over from LA, and he has a deep history in what's called Meisner technique. Meisner is a technique that was developed. We can go into how it was developed if you like, but basically Meisner was developed for actors to be more spontaneous, to get out of their head, to connect with their scene partner authentically, and therefore an audience authentically. Mm-hmm. And it was really kind of a homegrown technique based in the need of the actors of the day. When I started taking Meisner, I learned all those things, but also I got kind of a bonus, if you will, an unexpected result of the fact that it really broke down some emotional walls inside of me that I had built up, like just emotional blockages. There were certain emotions that I could not really access easily anymore. And I never really had this problem as a kid. I think it was an adult thing, just kind of going through some relationship drama and whatever else. I ended up in this emotionally blocked place. And Meisner tore all that down for me. And I didn't go in for that purpose, but I had that transformation. And so, there's a saying about people who go through this kind of transformation, whether it's religious, political, personal, whatever it is, they become an advocate for that thing that transformed their lives. And that's how I feel about acting and what it can do for people, even if you don't want to be an actor. So I just started doing gigs and working with video producers and friends who were doing content. And one thing led to another. I started getting referrals, and here I am in business. And it's all driven off the fact that I truly believe, because I experienced it firsthand, what this can do for somebody who wants to kind of break down those barriers and actually connect with somebody authentically.
So it's so amazing because, like many of our guests that we have on this show, is you were going along in life, you had a goal, and then you had this aha moment, this breakthrough.
Yes. Yeah.
And you saw the difference in what it was able to help you to do. And I think a lot of things that people have is, a lot of people are very afraid of being in public or being on video or speaking. So what do you see, Pamela, are some common fears or challenges people face when it comes to public speaking, and how do you help them overcome them?
The biggest challenge that I see for people is that when the camera starts rolling or when they get up on stage in front of an audience, they turn into a different person. They kind of put on this persona. Some people put on a persona that they think that they need to do when they're talking to an audience. That was my big problem. When I used to get on camera, I would just become a different person. And you could tell it was very stiff and inauthentic. Similar to that, some people start to feel very awkward and self-conscious. So again, they kind of turn into this other version of themselves, but it's driven by, not by what they think they need to do, but just from sheer self-consciousness. What I teach is there's a lot of techniques you can use, again, from the world of acting, from the world of improv, that can help overcome these things. Now, nothing is going to replace good old practice, doing it over and over again, desensitization. But, excuse me, but you can't just do it over and over again if you're doing, not the right techniques. So the result of becoming a different person when the camera starts rolling, it's all comes from being in your head, right? So again, I'll go back to what I said about Meisner technique. I also teach a lot of improv, and it trains you to live in the moment. That's one of its strengths. So what I teach, and I can go into the actual exercises that I do if you like, but it's all centered around, let's get you not focused on yourself. Let's focus on your audience. Remember that they are there to hear what you have to give them. So put your attention on your audience, you focus on that. And you also do a lot of these drills that I teach to help you really live in the moment. And don't worry about it if you make a mistake, like I just did, right? Don't worry about it. You can do another take. You can continue on, but you have to kind of know how to do that. Right. If that makes sense. Hopefully that made sense.
Yes. And I think this is a really key point when we get up and give a presentation or on video. We're so self-conscious and thinking about ourselves.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the audience is there who they came to hear you to speak to them. Yeah. And it's almost like you're over here in the corner doing your own thing and they just happen to be there on the side, right?
Yeah. That's a great observation. When you are speaking to an audience, you can't be doing just a show of one person. I mean, you may have a show, like if you're a performer, you may have a one-person show that you're doing. You've got your talk, whatever it is. That's not what I'm referring to. There always has to be an acknowledgement and appreciation of the audience, a connection with the audience. One of the things that I love about doing live speaking engagements, never thought I'd hear myself say this, but you can feed off the audience. Being in front of a live audience used to terrify me. and it was only because of my acting instructor that I even went out for plays as an adult for live theater. Once I did that and I saw that, okay, I didn't drop my lines, or maybe if I did forget a line, the world didn't end, right? We kept going. But what I gained is that energy from the audience. That's what you have to feed off of. So if you're kind of in your head and doing your own thing over here, you're not feeding off of the energy from the audience and you're not giving them your energy.
Yeah. So when you hear people say, read the room or feed off the audience, like what exactly do you mean by that?
I mean, what is the mood of the people? What's the look on their face? What's their body language? What energy are they giving off? Are they paying attention? Are they just checking their phones, checking their watches? You can really tell a lot, even if people aren't saying words, to see how engaged they are with you or not.
Right.
And you can adjust your delivery. There's in the acting world there's an ongoing frustration with doing live auditions because 9 times out of 10, you walk into an audition room and you've got one, maybe 2 people, like the casting director and somebody else that's helping with the audition. And you are supposed to be doing your scene with one of these people. You've got a reader, right? A lot of the time, the reader will be down here, like looking at I'm pretending to read a script, looking at their script, not really acknowledging you. They may bark orders at you when you get in the room. And, this could all be their way of testing you, right? Mm-hmm. Or it just could be that they are not very emotionally connected. Either way, you got a problem. So what we're taught in acting class is to adjust our delivery and our confidence level to connect with them no matter what, even if they're doing one of these, right? So there are ways to do that. It can be very frustrating, but if you're aware of the audience and you can read their energy, then you can adjust what you need to give them.
All right. Very good. So as you work with coaching clients, Pamela, you're bringing in improv, you're bringing in acting. So what does it mean? I did a little research on you here. What does it mean to think like an actor? How does it help us as individuals communicate more effectively in a business setting?
Partly it means the things that I've just said about living in the moment, being authentic, all of that stuff, but really thinking like an actor. When you are playing a scene in a movie or a play, what we say, related again back to acting class, is that the emotional delivery, the emotional height of the scene is compressed, like the timeline is compressed and it's heightened. So everything is compressed and heightened emotionally and time-wise. And I help my clients think the same way. How can we compress your message? How can we get the most out of your words? How can we get the most out of your delivery? How can we heighten your emotional state? Not that I don't want you to be hysterical. I don't want you to be nervous. I mean, how can we put your heart and soul and raise your emotional stakes into your delivery? If you're delivering, you could read something. I've got a notebook here. I could look at the back of my notebook and it's an address. I mean, I could read this address like 900 2nd Avenue South. Very boring, right? But 900 2nd Avenue South. Like there's emotion you can put. It doesn't matter what the words are. I just read an address off the back of a notebook. And I didn't intend to do that when I did not plan this when we started our podcast, but the words really don't matter is the point. What matters is you craft your message according to that kind of compression paradigm, and you heighten your emotional stakes. It sounds easier to do than it is, because people often ask me, I've worked with property managers, I've worked with engineers. Like I have a recent client who's an engineer who famously told me almost every session, he's like, I'm an engineer, I don't have emotions. And I'm like, are you breathing? And do you walk on two legs? You're a human being, you have emotions. And we're not only going to find them, but we are going to connect those emotions to your speaking, to your message, so that your audience feeds off of that. It all goes, back to what you can give your audience. So it's all about compressing your message, heightening the emotions. And there are, again, acting tools to do that.
Yeah. I love that so much, because what I hear that as is it aligns very much with when I talk about, developing your brand. When you are very clear about your message and you are passionate about what you are saying and what you do, what you believe in, what you don't believe in, people are drawn to you, right? That passion acts like a magnet. Right. And people think, well, what are they doing? I want more of, I want whatever they're having, right? Yeah. To be able to pull it into it. So I think that is a similar thread of what I'm hearing.
Yes. One thing, if your audience walks away with one message from me today, outside of everything we've covered so far, the words don't matter. What I mean by that is, of course, you want to craft your words so that they're, I was just saying a minute ago, you want to craft your words so that they're effective. But what really matters when you are delivering a heartfelt message is what your instrument is doing. I call your body your instrument.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything that you're doing with your body language, everything that's coming from your heart and your soul. Again, I'll go back to the address that I just read. The first way I read it was very boring and like, okay, we have to go to 200, whatever that street was, south. The second way was, oh my God, the world is ending. Like, or, I'm happy, I'm whatever, I'm surprised, overwhelmed. Yes, I was putting that on a little bit, but the message is mostly given non-verbally.
Mm-hmm.
So the words are important, but the words don't matter. What I help my clients do is we'll craft your message, but then we will separate your written message from how you're connecting, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I hear it as, okay, there's the content you're delivering, but there's the humanity of which you're connecting.
That's correct.
And that really can amplify it.
Yes. Thank you. You said it better than I did.
That's all right. That's right.
You need another cup of coffee.
I help people with messaging, so I can pick up on that. Mm-hmm. So we've talked a little bit about acting. I'm very curious about improv skills. I think before we got on, I mentioned that I have a friend who takes improv classes. He's a coach. And I always wonder, how can that work? So tell us a little bit about how that might be able to enhance someone's ability to connect with their audience, maybe during a presentation, let's say.
I love improv because it allows people to explore other possibilities. Mm-hmm. So we all have our type, right? As an actor, I am typecast in certain roles. I get a lot of mother, lawyer, sometimes female cop, not always, but I get a lot of those things. So we all have our types and we can't really escape that. I look the way I look, I sound the way I sound, but using improv, I can explore other types that I might want to be or just try on or just put on. I can play with that. I can play with what I do with my body language. I can play with what I do with my voice, how I move about a room, how outgoing or shy I am. All of those things, improv allows us to experiment with other personas. So how it helps a speaker, I give this example often. I'll give it on your podcast because it's just so powerful and it was very memorable for me. One of my clients a couple of years ago is a doctor who his main audience or his main customer is other men. And he was doing a series of informational videos. Now he's a doctor. He's very clinical. He has the clinical speak. He has the doctor, the lab coat, all that stuff. So he's like very clinical. And he wanted to project more of a James Bond image to his male potential clients in these videos. And so I'm like, okay, we are going to go through a series of exercises where we build your version of James Bond, not Sean Connery's version, not Roger Moore's version, not Daniel Craig's version. We're going to build your version, doctor, of let's find those parts of James Bond that you have in you, and we're going to build them from the ground up. So we did this through improv. I had him, excuse me. I had him walking around the room differently, using his voice differently. I had him acting out certain scenes from a day in the life of his version of James Bond. Like we did the whole 9 yards that you would do in improv. And again, it helped him explore parts of himself that he really had. He does have a lot of confidence. He does have great posture and a commanding presence. So we used all of that. And it really helped him open up on camera. And we drilled this over and over. I think I did like a 2 or 3 month engagement with him. And it helped when he finally did get on camera to bring all of those James Bond-esque qualities that he has that we can now access into his delivery on camera.
Yeah, what an amazing story. And what that reminds me of is, we all have these archetypes within us, whether we realize it or not, of things that perhaps maybe that influenced us as a child, or movie characters that we saw that we really align with. We don't really know why. So being able first of all, for him to even recognize that he had some James Bond in him, right?
Yeah.
And to want to communicate that to his audience. And it's counterintuitive of what you would think. Like, I don't think of walking into my physician's office and having him come across as James Bond, right? I think of something different. So that little twist would really make him memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. And he took to it like a duck to water. He just loved, he had hired I think a media coach or an on-camera coach. Don't know who it was, and I wouldn't disparage anyone. I think that he liked that training just fine, but he didn't do the type of work that I was doing with him. Mm-hmm. It was all kind of new and outside of his comfort zone, but fun. And it worked for him.
Yes. And I could see like an on-camera coach might be like how to sit and how to position yourself or speaking. But what you were doing was more internal work.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I tell people I don't really care. And I do care like what your posture is and how you're speaking and all of that. Mm-hmm. But people watching this today, they'll see me that I'm not 100% polished, and I've tripped over my words a few times and had to think about what my answer was. To me, as long as I am giving my attention to you, Lisa, and your audience, and giving what's in my heart and being authentic about that, that's what I care about as a coach, but also as an on-camera person myself. I really care about connecting. And if that's done imperfectly, then I'm okay with that. I can always improve my posture and my speech. And, I use my hands a lot. I'm Italian. We use our hands. So, I can always improve on those things. It's a harder prospect to agree to open up your heart to an audience. A lot of people are afraid of that. Rightly so. That's what I help with.
Yes. And I think so. And I think, that being able to give, right? Like be that giver and being there for the audience is so critical. So I do have a question. There's so many people that I see either on LinkedIn or actually even yesterday, I was having a conversation with someone who said, I know I want to start a podcast. And so one of the questions we had in the conversation was whether to do it audio only or audio and video. Mm-hmm. And, the first 2 years of this podcast, I was audio only. And then I made the jump to go to video. Couple of things need to happen is it's very different when you are doing a combo podcast because you do have to look at the camera, right? You do have to make that eye contact with the camera. It is not as simple as reading a pre-written script. You have to be able to, be able to have those conversations as if you're speaking to the person that's watching the YouTube video, right? Mm-hmm. But this person said, oh, no, I'm not going to do video because I am not ready yet. So she tends to be a little bit more introverted. Mm-hmm. So whether people are showing up on video, whether they're giving a presentation or even thinking like becoming visible by making a LinkedIn post, right? Even something as simple as that where you're not even speaking. How do you go about approaching working with introverted clients who may feel uncomfortable with acting techniques or improv? Because, I think a lot of people would say, well, this is so silly. Like, why are we doing this? How do you make that approach with those introverts?
I put people on camera immediately. Our first session. I never share it except with them. So, all of my clients are confident that I provide a safe space for what we do. It's entirely confidential, and I only speak of clients if they give me permission. So the clients that I've mentioned, and I haven't mentioned their names, but the clients that I've talked about have already said that, please feel free to use me as an example. It's difficult to overcome sometimes when you feel like you just want to hide away from the world. Mm-hmm. And I have times like that as well. As much as I love being on camera now, I go through times where I don't want to post on LinkedIn. I have my valleys, I call them. whether it's something where you're just kind of going through a phase or whether that's your default is to be more reserved and introverted. The best thing you can do is literally just do it. I know that sounds trite, but when I work with people, like I said, I will put them on camera right away so that they can see where they are at. And I have a baseline of working with them as well. Mm-hmm. And I also put them on camera frequently throughout our coaching, even if they don't want to do on camera work, because they can see how they're getting better. By the end of our engagement together, they have this history, this progress of, wow, I started out here and look at me now. And I'm so much better now. And that's for them to have for all of posterity. They can look at their progress and be very proud of what they've accomplished. So in addition to all the acting and improv exercises that will work on things like getting you out of your shell and helping you live in the moment, there's visual proof there in front of you of your progress over time with me.
Yeah, I think that's really important because we do all this work. We want to know, are we getting better? But what I love about that is, a lot of people don't understand how they are seen by others. So to come to that with a fresh set of eyes to say, oh, okay, that's pretty good. Or, we have this tendency to be very critical of ourselves, but to be able to see that progress would be very rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have a recent client, again, the engineer that said he doesn't have any emotions. We did a lot of every session. We did a lot of on-camera work. He ended up. This wasn't why he came to me, but by kind of 2/3 of the way through, and definitely by the end of our coaching, he made 2 or 3 videos for his company, the company that he works for, that they are now using for an annual conference that they put on. And his face is the face of this conference now. He's like doing these informational videos. He is saying, come to our conference. Here's what you're going to get. And he's much more comfortable doing that. He was inspired to do that because he saw his progress. Mm-hmm. You don't see, you can go through these exercises, but if you're not applying them and seeing how they affect your on-camera performance or your on-stage performance, then you can kind of get stuck in this cycle of, I like this work, but whatever. The power is in seeing how it transforms you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very true. And I think also getting the confidence from feedback from others of, wow, that was really good, or I didn't think it that way, or I've seen you do this before, right? Getting those affirmations from other people, very important. So as we're talking about communicating, here we are, 2004, we would be remiss, Pamela, if we did not broach the topic of artificial intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. It is everywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're a copywriter or whatever career that you're in. If you are in a career, if you're working, we must learn how to communicate. Yes. So I would love to know what your perspective is on the role of AI in being in the world of video and speaking.
It's going to be probably extremely impactful on this industry, like it will be on every industry. I'm of two minds. I think we're still in fairly early days. Excuse me. And people are attributing power to AI that it doesn't quite have yet. Not that it won't have it, though. So my interest in AI as it pertains to speaking and being on camera is more of a, hey, what's coming down the pike? And there are a lot of powerful things out there now. Obviously, you can use AI to write scripts, to write your content. You can also use AI to do a lot of the, I won't say a lot, I'll say some of the feedback that I do, because you're not getting that human interaction, but you are getting, there are AI programs that can analyze your body language, the tone of your voice, all those things. Mm-hmm. So it can give you kind of a more analytical feedback of what you're doing on camera. There are also AI clones coming out now that, Lisa, I could be talking to your clone in another year instead of you, and you could be on the beach sipping a margarita while I do the interview with your clone. Is that preferable? I don't know. I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and some of them are socially oriented, some of them are business oriented. And there was an interesting take that I heard on one of the podcasts about AI replacing humans in the world of art specifically. And I consider being on camera an art form. And this particular person's take was that it will be interesting and it will be novel, but it won't displace humans the way we think it will, because for the sole reason that creating great art or a great performance on camera in a movie or on stage in front of an audience, that is an accomplishment that takes skill. It takes some talent, I'll say, but it's a lot of skill and a lot of work. AI doesn't offer that. AI is a program. And it can be programmed to do beautiful art, and it can be programmed to speak well, right? To deliver to an audience, but it's still a program. And so there's not that, I'm not impressed by an AI that creates a beautiful painting the way I am impressed by a human that can create an equally beautiful painting, because it comes from the human heart. Right? Not a computer program. So I tend to agree with that take. I could be right. I could be wrong. I think AI will streamline and replace. I mean, it might even replace what I do someday, but I don't think famous last words like that. Hopefully this doesn't come back to haunt me, but I can't see a clone replacing me or you.
Right. No, I think you're exactly right. And I heard an interview just yesterday with Chip Conley, and he said, I loved what he said. He said, AI is smart, but humans are wise. Right? So if you think about what's the difference between smart and wise, smart is having the facts, it's having knowledge, but wise is the application and what it really means, right? It's that sage wisdom that you get as a result of experience. So it's taking that knowledge and applying it, and really, what does it mean? Analyzing it in what it means. So I love using AI as a thinking partner. A lot of times I'll put in a prompt of help me do this. Like help me, I need to create this, help me do this. What questions do you want to ask me? And so that gives me an idea of maybe what my audience might need to know as well. So it's really a brainstorming partner, and it works for me. It's not taking over in any realm of possibilities. I'm the one still in control here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what you have. So, Pamela, there are a lot of speaking coaches out there. There's a lot of people that can help you with executive presence, but I love that you have this acting and improv slant. So what is a hot take that you have about speaking skills that are different than what the industry standard is? How do you approach it differently when clients come to you and maybe they've already worked with a speaking coach?
Well, I alluded to it earlier. My hot take is that I would rather see you be messy and imperfect, but let your heart and soul shine through, than be super polished, but maybe not truly authentic. I watch a lot of speakers, and maybe because of my acting background, I can get a vibe about them. This person they're extremely well-spoken, but phony as the day is long. Or, man, this person stutters a lot, but what I see is the true person. I feel that human connection with them, even though they have trouble delivering. I would rather put you on the even though end of the spectrum. I mean, we'll work on stuttering and stuff like that if you have that issue, but I would rather have you be imperfectly beautiful in your connection with people than worry about, I have to be perfect, I have to sit this way, I have to speak this way. We're not, I think we're past that as a society.
Yes, I would agree. I think with the generations that are in the marketplace right now. And I would say some of the older generations were probably all about being polished and perfect.
Yes.
I know that was the way I was groomed, is you must be polished and perfect and don't show your flaws. But, I've told the story before that when I was hesitating back, this is the beginning of COVID, about being on camera. One of my friends said, well, what is it that you're afraid of? And it was showing up not being perfect. But then they said, well, nobody's hiring you to be perfect.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
And when we present ourselves as perfect, no one can relate to us. But when we stumble and when we, cough, or we can't think of what we want to say, we've all been there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we've all been there. So I think that is a really great thing, to hold space for people, to let them be who they are, and to be their authentic selves, and to be able to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. It's really great. Well, Pamela, I would be remiss if I did not congratulate you. I've just learned that you have been named as a finalist in Atlanta's Best Annual Award for Atlanta-based businesses in different categories. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yep. I'm one of 3 finalists in the coaching services category. Atlanta's Best Awards. People can go to Atlanta's. See, I just did it again. People can go to atlantasbest.com, I think is the website. And it'll have the finalists there. And the awards ceremony is on November 14th. If anybody would like to come to the awards ceremony, I will be there. Some friends of mine will be there as well. And it really highlights local Atlanta businesses that have been through this process. They've had their audience vote for them. Now the finalists are going to gather at the awards ceremony, and we'll see who wins. So wish me luck.
Right. We'll be cheering you on. So Pamela, how can people find you? What's the best way to contact you?
LinkedIn is a great way to contact me. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. You go to linkedin.com/in/P Deritis, P D as in dog, ERITIS. That'll bring you to my personal profile. You can reach out to me if you'd like to just inquire about my services or ask a question. I'm happy to answer questions about speaking and being on camera. hello@connectandcaptivate.com. That's my email address. Or you can go to my website, connectandcaptivate.com.
All right. Very good. Very good. And if you don't follow Pamela on LinkedIn, I suggest you do, because Pamela, you have a little interesting twist that you add to some of your posts. Do you not? About an animal, maybe?
I do. Actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to turn the camera around. There she is.
Oh, nice.
Yep. My dog and my cat. So yes, I have my dog, Lucy. She's a beagle. And I do sometimes sing to my beagle. I mean, it's so goofy. And I just posted it once as kind of a joke, but it got so much engagement and people loved it. And they, lots of heart emojis. And it was just something different on LinkedIn. So every once in a while, I don't do it on a regular schedule, but every once in a while I'll pop in a post about me singing to my dog. And I am a terrible singer. So for what it's worth.
Well, talk about relating, right? Whether we have dogs, pets, whatever it is, whether we sing or not, who knows? Maybe you're in an audition as well. Someone will catch you on that. Yeah. But I would love to thank you for being with us today. I appreciate your time. It's a very valuable topic because there are a lot of people who are hesitant to show up, who aren't really sure what to do. But when we can take the attention off of us and put it on others, it is a great way to be able to become more successful at delivering that message.
Agreed. Thank you, Lisa. I've enjoyed being on here. Thank you.
Okay. And for my audience that's here today, just another example of someone who's taken their passion and turned it into a purpose to be able to share it with other people in the world. So my question is, do you have something like that? Do you have something that is kind of gnawing at your heart that you feel that you can contribute? If you're not really sure, I invite you to take my new Reimagine You quiz that will lead you down of one of 4 paths to see what it is that's driving you and give you the next steps to follow on. So until next week, go chase your passion. It will lead you to your purpose and help you show up with that personal brand of integrity. It's the road to find happiness and fulfillment along on the journey to find your legendary self. Thanks so much.